The Kansas City Chiefs are a couple days removed from a loss to the hands of the lowly Tennessee Titans. They're a couple days away from hosting the Denver Broncos at home on Christmas Day. And I don't know if anybody's seen this news or not yet, the next stadium's going to be in Kansas. Other than that, though, it's been a pretty slow news week. We'll approach this in chronological order here today. It's only Weird Games. I'm Joshua Brisco with Seth Keysor and Nate Taylor. It has been so busy, in fact, that I am kind of tempted to just get us to topic 1 so we can get one step closer to topic 2 and 3. And look, I don't know if our most observant voyeurs have noticed, off-season lessons is back. We're learning lessons about the off-season before this season has even ended, which I just feel like is an important thing worth underlining. I'll start with you, Seth. How are we feeling right now about getting ready for the Chris Oladokun experience on Christmas night?
You know, all I wanted from the Chiefs was 2 things. One was to improve their draft position in the upcoming NFL draft, where they have a chance to, I believe, pick as high as 8th, I want to say, but may pick as low as like 14th.
I think you should be hoping for a top 10 pick, Seth.
Mike's worse today, Nate. Mike is worse. Don't know what happened here, but it doesn't sound very good. I don't know which one we're using. I don't know where it's coming from. But last week, you using the built-in mic was a revelation, and today it sounds like you're inside of a cave.
That's a shame.
So that was one of 2 things I wanted, which you know what, before I start, I apologize to everyone I missed last Thursday's episode. That was a game time decision. I have no idea what Josh and Nate might have said to mock me. The reality is I had
probably nothing.
Some dad and husband stuff that needed to get done. And I'm trying to be better about doing those things when they come up unexpectedly. And my teammates, as ever, just carried me on their backs across the finish line as they ever have. And
today, Seth, you're getting the Juju Smith-Schuster workload. You're getting 90% of the action. So you just get ready for that.
It would only make sense. I mean, if there's literally no reason to, that would only make sense if there was no reason for me to be here and talk. Then give me 90%. So I wanted them to improve their draft position, which, I understand. I'm not a big fan of tanking, but I also do understand that the Chiefs have been picking, like 28th through 32nd for years. And the difference, not just in the first round. People only think in terms of the first round. But let's say they pick 10th, right? You realize that if you pick 10th and then 42nd, your second draft pick is like 10 away from what you've been doing most years. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. It matters in terms of being able to move stuff around. That matters in the first, second, third round. I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge deal. The second thing I wanted was for the Chiefs to look somewhat competent. Well, you can't have everything.
You can't get everything you wish for.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was, I tend to be a pretty positive guy. And right now, the in vogue thing is to bash the Chiefs up and down.
Really? That's the in vogue thing to do?
It is. I just want to say one thing. So last year, and I've talked about this a little bit, I was talking about the job Andy Reid was doing as a coach because they were managing to win all these close games. And even though we were a little uneasy about some of the things, I blamed injuries in 2023 and 2024 and some roster decisions and that kind of stuff on the offense looking the way it does. I was wrong. I should have been not pushing for Andy Reid as coach of the year because the team was winning a bunch of close games. I should have been saying it's really concerning that the Chiefs are only winning a bunch of really, really close games, regardless of the opponent, regardless of how good or bad they are, and with the way the offense looks like it's functioning. I blamed the left tackle position. Before that, I blamed the wide receiver position, and I kept saying, no, you just can't field a functional offense this way because of this, because of this, because of this. And now we're 3 years in. So here's the deal. I wrote, I'm just going to read the title. We're back to Seth reads things on the internet.
Yes.
The Chiefs need to be, I'm doing the Dunder Mifflin thing. The Chiefs need to be honest with themselves about what Mahomes has been covering up. Now, that's the title of what I wrote after the game, because that was a travesty. And let me just, anyone who's listening, and again, it's really in vogue to trash the Chiefs right now. I understand all that. This is not about just one game. This is about a continuation of the same issues we've been talking about all year, and that were concerning after the Super Bowl last year, that were concerning throughout the year last year, but we tried to pass off for injury stuff. And by we, I'm talking, that's the colloquial we. Some people have been predicting this for a while. Hey, kudos. You were right. Congratulations. Good for you. It's not just about getting beaten down. There's a few things here. I want to interrupt an argument that I know I'm going to hear. People who are more optimistic, and I think that normally I'm a very optimistic guy. People will say that, well, they were just devastated by injuries, especially on offense, and that's why, they played the way they did. Here's the problem with that line of thinking. Okay, I would accept that if you got run out of the stadium by, say, I don't know, the LA Rams, while you're devastated by injuries. I would accept that if you got run out of the stadium by, name another, even like the Broncos, a team that is hated, are really good this year. I would have, because they're an actual good NFL team this year. The Titans.
Sure.
We have no room
Nate,
to
no
say
more
anything.
ad-libs until you fix your mic. That's my rule.
Yeah. So here's the deal. The Chiefs, if you look at how awful this game really was, if you look at advanced metrics like expected points added, the Chiefs, when you combine their offense and defense, they were negative 18 points. What that means is the advanced stats bore out what happened, right? They gained a total of 133 net yards on offense against a Titans defense that hasn't really frightened anyone all year. They gave up 376 yards to a Titans offense that is considered one of the worst in the league, and they were not missing a ton of people on defense, mind you. They converted 1 of 9 third downs. And here's the interesting thing. The Titans were penalized more often and for more yardage, and the Chiefs did not lose the turnover battle or something crazy. In other words, this was not a fluke. This was not a couple of bad breaks. That's what we've talked about all year, right? Just a couple plays away. They weren't a couple plays away. They got thoroughly, utterly, completely demolished by a team that was 2-12 heading into the game. This is not, it would be one thing if they got beaten like this by a really good team. So like the last week of the season last year, the Broncos were a slightly above average team last year. The Chiefs rested a bunch of guys, really weren't trying, and they got destroyed. That happens. I didn't really read anything into that. This, you're not missing everyone. So that's one thing. It's one thing to be bad, to not even look competitive against one of the worst teams in the league. This is the equivalent of getting run out of the stadium by the Raiders. And this is where, and Seamus is onto something in the comments. I'm going to get to that in a second. He says it looked better when the third string QB played off-script backyard football. Yes. And that's another thing. So there's a bunch of things here. I'm gonna go after a few because a few lines of argument. Well, it's the injuries. We've seen the Chiefs this injured before. And they looked passable. We've seen them without their tackles. We've seen them without Rashee Rice. And they at least managed to be an average-ish, if ugly to watch, offense. They weren't even an NFL caliber offense. And that's without Patrick Mahomes. That's what's changed. We've had games without the tackles. We've had games without Rashee Rice. And they had Xavier Worthy around who they, are immediately giving the ball to for some reason. It's like, oh, hey, you weigh 110 pounds and have been injured a lot of the year. Might as well give you a bunch of carries in a or not carries. Let's give you touches in a meaningless game. Whatever. It wasn't even passable. It's one thing to look bad. It's another thing to look like the Raiders looked against the Chiefs a few months ago. That, to me, is the huge differentiating factor. This was not against a good NFL team. And you didn't just look worse than them. You looked out-coached by them. You looked out-hustled by them. You looked out-physicaled by them. They got beaten in every single phase of the game. Here's the other part of it. When people are going to say, well, you're down to your third-string quarterback who's never thrown a ball in a live NFL game. the offense looked better with Oladokin than it did with Gardner Minshew, who, mind you, is a guy who has started many NFL games and looked at least like an average-ish. Like people for a while remember Minshew mania. Oh, he's going to be, he's not this awful quarterback. He's a guy who should know the system, and he looked there was nothing there. The offense looked really similar to how it's looked. It's the similarity that should be like, whoa, not just the results. And then the fact that once Oladokin came in, 31 of their 133 net yards were on a busted play to Isaiah Pacheco. Another 18 were on a busted play to Hollywood Brown. I'm not going to do math. You're talking like a third of your net yards. It was something that should be. And never mind how the defense just got rolled. Absolutely rolled. They mostly had their starters in on defense. They were missing Trent McDuffie and Leo Chanel, which, by the way, extend that man because your run defense needs him. But, be that as it may. They looked awful, and it not only exposed how much the offense has been covered by Mahomes, because, again, they've had this level of injuries this year and last year.
Last year, yeah.
And they looked so much better. The fact that this offense looked average to above average is like a testament to what Mahomes has been doing on third down, primarily. It also revealed how much the defense has been protected this year by having an offense that limits things to 8 or 9 drives a game. That matters. And that if this does not serve as a wake-up call to the Chiefs that they need massive, massive changes. And people are going to, oh, you mean Andy Reid? Andy Reid's not going anywhere. That's not going to happen. This is not we're just a play or two off, right? And the people are making jokes in the comments, just a tick off, just a play or two off. This was getting blown out of the water by a terrible NFL team. You should at least look competitive. The Niners have a ton of injuries too. Okay.
Sky Moore and DeMarcus Robinson are playing meaningful NFL snaps for a playoff team.
Right. So that, to me, the hard truth that I have gradually accepted, and here's the deal. I haven't felt this way just today. Like, we've been talking about this all season, but we've talked about how Mahomes has been affected by the stuff around him. Okay, you want to know how much Mahomes is affected by the stuff around him? Watch Gardner Minshew, a good backup, not an average starter. He'd be a poor starter, a good backup. Look at what he looks like. And then understand Mahomes has been fighting that same stuff. Is Mahomes been perfect this year? No. We can talk about more than one thing at a time. Mahomes has not been perfect this year. He's been carrying some serious, serious dead weight. And if they don't accept that now, I don't think they ever will. Maybe the Broncos, I think there's a strong chance the Broncos shut them out. Now, we'll see, because every game is different, right? Styles make fights. You never really know. All you got to do is catch him in a few weird looks. Oladokin's a weird matchup for anyone. But the Broncos will likely beat them fairly handily. If this game wasn't enough, even if they beat the Broncos, right? And let's say they beat the Broncos and the Raiders. Everyone's like, oh, see, it's proven. No. This should show you they have some real serious questions to answer in terms of how they are formulating their offense. And that's why when you've got the system running guy like Gardner Minshew, and that's what it looks like, and then the street ball, backyard ball guy comes in and it looks better, that should tell you everything you need to know about your system. The Titans were scheming open guys better.
I'll ask the same question to you, Nate. How are you doing?
Like I wasted time on Sunday. All right.
Not a lot better. Can you hit the gear at the bottom of your screen? Hit the gear and hit audio.
I did.
And when you go to mic, what does it say? So you go gear, audio, and then you hit mic. What does it say the mic is pulling from?
It says the Yeti.
It says Yeti Classic
version. It says Yeti stereo microphone. Don't ask me too much. Okay. Now, I've reduced echo. I've reduced background. I've already auto-adjusted mic volume. I don't know. Maybe you want me to go higher, lower? I don't know.
We're live troubleshooting at this point. I'm on here now. This is. What if
Should I just unplug it?
What if you just go with your laptop mic? Let's try that.
I thought that's how we started the show, but I've lost my confidence.
He's muted now.
So this is what it feels like to be more than a tick off. We are not a few plays away here today. We are. Something went wrong in training camp. Nate, you're muted right now, so I can't hear anything you're saying. This is a scheme problem. I can't unmute your guest because they muted themselves. Very good.
This might be scheme. I think you're right, Josh.
This might be scheme.
I think this is scheme.
I don't want to make any big changes in the offseason, but I'm looking around. Honestly, I'm at the podium saying I got to put my guys in a better position. Nate, can you unmute your mic and see if this sounds better? I don't know what mic you're on. Oh, Nate's unplugging his headphones.
Maybe they can't hear us. Maybe that's the problem. Do we do sign language?
Man, I'm jealous if that's true. Oh, hey, what's up, Tucker? Nate's gone. Tucker's here.
You know, as bad as a viewing experience this is, imagine the audios.
Yeah, I think it's been an okay viewing experience, but a tough listening experience. Here's what I'll add. While at Tucker, I'll let you see if you can get Nate in that other StreamYard link and see.
Nate, just go to this. Hang on, let me paste this in the private chat. Just go to this. Just go to this one over here.
It's right there. I'm looking at. Okay, so I'll let you guys solve that here. And you can account for that and removing your nope. Oh, now Seth, it's just me now. I'm here alone.
I got your back, buddy. You are not Travis Kelce trying to close out the season by yourself. Which, by the way, man, if Kelce wasn't going to retire at the end of the season before,
it seems like I don't know. I would love to have him come back for less under less duress than this has been, but I know the feeling. The thing that I'll add is a kind of a sprinkling in that I know people are upset about because I've been on Twitter all week, not stadium stuff. We'll get there later. But the fact that you did not, in the midst of all of that, right, in the midst of being pretty well thumped by the Tennessee Titans, who played themselves out of contention for the number 1 overall pick by absolutely dominating this football team. And again, also, the Chiefs didn't just fall apart because they ended up with a third-string quarterback that didn't even get reps last week, which is what Andy Reid said after the game. Understandably, Gardner Minshew got all the reps because he doesn't get reps when Patrick Mahomes is out there. Patrick Mahomes is always out there. But like you said, Ole Oken actually came in and fixed some things out of structure, reflecting on what you just explained. But it's not like it was just hopeless because you had a totally scrub quarterback or that just nothing functioned. Because the other thing that I think is worth discussing, it's also not like they just played week 3 preseason rosters. Jeffrey Basso was not on the field defensively. Jalen Royals, I think it was 3 snaps, 1 passing snap. Brashard Smith got 1 touch late in the 4th quarter and 0 carries. Isaiah Pacheco got more carries than the rest of the team combined. He almost had as many receptions as the rest of the team combined. And that's not entirely his fault because sometimes you're finding the running back because nothing else is working. But that could be the running back who was a wide receiver a year ago, or a little more than a year ago now. I would see Brashard Smith there. I talked about this on everything else yesterday. I think that the place where I've gotten to on the rookie class that's not playing is still of enormous concern because even if the coaching staff is right and they just can't be on the field right now, it means the back half of your draft class is so out of place on an NFL field right now that you could not run a functional offense or defense with them out there. But we have seen Brashard Smith on the field. We've seen him get more touches in games that mattered this year than we saw on Sunday against the Titans. So I am kind of curious how you saw the usage of some of those guys who didn't make the field.
If you want to know, and Nate Dogg in the comments pointed this out, if you want to know how the Chiefs did things, Juju Smith-Schuster got 90+% of the snaps.
Yep.
This is, and it's not like we've never seen Bassa play in the regular season, but he played a ton of snaps in the preseason, had some good, had some bad, takes the cheese a little too often, but made some good plays too and looked comfortable passing off zone coverage looks. Like, he didn't look like a guy that you literally can't have on the field. The entire thing, you named all the guys already. The entire thing is just inexplicable to me. I understand Trey Smith, who's a warrior, clearly limping around out there. And when he's asked, like, why, he's like, what's my job? And you know what? I do get that from his perspective.
Yep.
That is his job, as long as the team allows that. I would say the team, their job is to think about the future. Trey Smith's not a guy they need to learn anything about. They're a guy who they don't want to have a gimpy, easier to hurt in the future ankle. And I mean,
Brian Cook got hurt and sat on the sideline and was back out there again a few plays later.
Yeah, Brian
Well,
Cook
Jaden Hicks did not play very much. Did not play very well, but also did not play very much.
Yeah. I wrote that they need to treat this as information gathering, and instead, worse, they tried to win and got destroyed. It was such a disheartening thing to see that, again, is a continuation, at least from all appearances, of not seeming to understand your situation. And that's where it's just this baffling thing this year in terms of like I don't need to see Chris Jones playing right now. I get he's got pride. I get he wants to be out there. But if you're the coach, you look at him and you say, Chris, you're too valuable. Trey, you're too valuable. These are guys that are supposed to be foundational pieces next year and the year after. And you're sitting here playing them for no reason. And you still got clobbered by a terrible team. It's just, at least, man, if you're the coaching staff, at least if you'd played all these young players, everyone could be like, well, it's pretty clear what they're trying to do.
Right.
Nope. They were trying to win that game. And that's how bad things look. And eventually, I've had to accept, and again, Mahomes isn't perfect. He's got his own stuff. I'll write about it in the film review. Some of it, I think, is reaction to what the last 3 years have looked like.
Right.
Right now, they have got to just acknowledge to themselves, Patrick Mahomes has covered some significant problems. And the second he's not in there, it looks so much worse. So much worse that they've got to hopefully reconsider their approach.
All right, so let's bring Nate back in here. It seems like we've got that ironed out. Nate, before we move on to all the others, we'll take a timeout and get into stadium stuff and we'll look at the Broncos and all of that. But what else did you take away from that game against the Titans? And have you ever felt sillier getting on a plane to fly back to Kansas City than you did after that one?
Is the mic on? Can everybody hear me?
Just tap it for me, just to humor me. I didn't hear anything, so I don't know. It sounds better than it did earlier.
Okay, it sounds better. Is everybody okay with me? The camera's on. Are we rolling? Look, I'm gonna be the first one to say that my start today was unacceptable. It won't happen again.
Yes,
we tried some things with the mic. I know people have criticized the mouse. That is sometimes warranted. In this case, it was more on the operational staff. That's my responsibility. I am going to clean that up. We thought we had a great game plan going into this podcast, and unfortunately, it just didn't go the way we wanted to. I respect the challenge. It's an honor to be out here, to be with you all. I just want you all to know that we came in here with a plan to have a better mic setup back in my office. We're missing some pieces, obviously, from an audio quality standpoint, and we're gonna get it fixed. You can rest assured that from an audio quality, I'm gonna get it fixed. I'm so glad I've been given the time to hopefully redeem myself here in the second half. But look, the first half didn't go the way we wanted to. Obviously, I got a lot of things to report to you because not only, Josh, did I have to fly to Nashville, I only stayed there one night because I flew back Sunday night because it was made quite clear to me that I had to be in Topeka yesterday. Yeah, right. So we flew only to get in the car to drive, and I got too much respect for this medium, for this platform, to treat the fans like this. It's very unacceptable of me. I just want to make everybody aware that you can count on me to give the best I have for these next 35 minutes.
I think Tucker Franklin Cullen is going to have a lot of things to say in the film room this week. So I think it's going to be an intense review of the tape here. But listen back and hear where your audio levels are at, and we can try to improve on this for next week.
This didn't happen when we're in week 17, fellas. But you know what? We're human. It's not acceptable for Tuscaloosa. It's not acceptable for anyone. And if you think my performance is very symbolic of the Chiefs, well, then maybe I did contribute more than I anticipated in the first half of this episode.
It does feel like something broke down in the process here, which maybe that's the connection point. Genuinely, Nate, anything that we haven't covered from the Titans game that is meaningful to you before we move on to the news out of Topeka and
right.
a brief peek of the Broncos?
So I can tell you, we did have a nice chat with Nico Remigio. He is still alive. He is able to get up and walk on his own. He did tell us it felt as bad as it looked. If you know which play I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
That's the most intrepid reporting I did in the visitors' locker room at Nissan Stadium, was to ask Nico Remigio if his nuts were okay. Then I asked Creed Humphrey why the performance was unacceptable, and I've never felt more fury, I should say, not fear. I've never felt more fury.
Nate doesn't feel fear.
I don't feel fear. What are you talking about? Fear? What is that? I've never felt more fury from Creed Humphrey after a game than Sunday. Given that he and Trey Smith were out there trying their God's honest best. And, the offensive line takes it personal when you give up a safety. And so they lost their minds for obvious reasons because it wasn't their fault, but, it just looks bad. They show – and, look, this is I think one of the small themes from what even Seth said earlier, which I completely all agree with. Don't know what they were doing from a coaching standpoint. The offense is a complete mess. And yes, you still have very capable players on both sides of the ball involved in a game where you looked as lackadaisical, as poor from an attention to detail standpoint. Honestly, there was obviously moments of good effort, and then there were moments of why is he out there on the field when they could just be playing a younger player at his position if this is the level of effort and performance you're going to get, right? All that to say, there are two things that I gathered from the locker room, right? Essentially, and this has been a theme probably throughout more than half the season, so I'm trying to choose my words wisely, guys. But one of the biggest themes of this season is, and we've said this before, and I'll do the same thing, it is a brilliant body of work from Andy Reid. You cannot dispute it. It is undeniable. He is a all-time great coach. And he has largely stayed like this. And if you're not watching right now, if you're hearing this via podcast, he's largely tried to stay pretty flatline. Not too high, not too low. We've said this before. And the most emotion you saw on the sideline were from Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And that is an indictment on Andy Reid, because your job is to find a way to get these guys to perform up to their best possibilities, even if they can't, even if they know in their heart this, they're playing for not much. Yes, they're playing for pride. They're out of the playoffs. But, it's your job to motivate. It's your job to get guys to collectively come together and be willing to do something or try to accomplish something as one, versus a very fractured. The whole performance was fractured. There were times where I thought Brian Cook had a good play, and then there were times where I was like, "What is happening around Brian Cook right now?" And it's just I don't honestly, they don't ever need to play Christian Fulton ever again. That is extremely harsh. But he was not good against receivers that most people do not know what their names are. So that's just an example, right? The problem with all that is that I didn't see a single coach get upset. I didn't see Andy Reid get upset. I saw more emotion out of your all-pro center and your Pro Bowl guard. Second thing is, and I wanted to save this for this particular audience because you guys deserve it. And if there was one reason to get on that flight, I mean, I guess it was this, right? So we didn't see Gardner Minshew because obviously he had been whisked away. You know, obviously at the time it was feared that his ACL had been torn. Thank the Lord that is not the case. He's still done for the season, but like has a chance to maybe resume the role he could have, you know, likely earned for the offseason program. All right, well, there's, you know, okay, like I know this has become a much bigger topic. I mean, y'all, he was out there running cardio. For who? For what? He did his best. There's one play in particular, and this is mostly on Chris Oladokun because, like, I mean, when is the last time this guy's had any reps with Travis Kelce? Now, they did complete a pass, but there was one point in the game where Kelce, I think in some ways, ad-libbed his route, which he is known to do, obviously, based on coverage. And you're going to see it on all 22 if you care enough to rewatch that abysmal football game from a Chiefs standpoint. But I think he honestly saw what the safety did and ad-libbed his route and basically ran a seam up the middle of the field, and he's wide open. I mean, wide open. He raises his left hand to signal to Chris Oladokun, I am wide open. I think Chris Oladokun's initial read was to his right. So unless he has, like, again, Patrick Mahomes level elite, you know, peripheral vision, he may have never saw Kelce, right? But Kelce's like being professional, doing his best. There was a couple times where he like, okay, there's the void in the zone. Here's where I sit down. Because of Gardner Minshew's knee, he can't even get the ball to my ankles. All right. So I've put my hand up. I've done the Randy Moss. I'm wide open. If you throw it now, it's a touchdown. Instead, third-string quarterback doesn't see him. And so I know there are people that are like, well, Travis Kelce doesn't really talk to reporters after games. I don't believe he's talked to us after a loss this season on the record in the locker room per se. And so I knew that going in, but I was interested as to what his reaction would be, given that's one of the most meaningless football games he's ever played. And tell me if I'm wrong, Josh, 1 reception, 6 yards.
Yep.
I mean, we're just out here getting cardio, dog. And they open the locker room. It's a little bit from like your right to your left. Then you make another right turn. He's already dressed. God bless him. He's already dressed because did he sweat? Who knows? But he took significant time to talk to one person and one person only in that locker room. And that moment will stick with me in Nashville. And I'm going to give each of you and the audience a chance to guess who was Travis Kelce talking to in the Chiefs locker room before he made his exit, knowing he just played inarguably probably the most meaningless game he's played in his career, at least at this stature of his career. Go ahead, fellas.
Chris Evans. Because he's curious about Steve Rogers being back.
Josh?
I literally had to think, which NFL player did Seth just mix up the names of? I'm gonna also go pretty far down the board because I'm trying to pick up the evidence of where we're at right now. I'm gonna throw my dart at James Winchester.
I think it's got to be Chris Oladokun. Like
Matt Nagy, Tom Melvin. Is he in there?
Are we ready?
Noah Gray.
Chris
Jones?
Enemy.
Now he did it. Now
Cam Ward. What is he playing?
Whoa, Cam Ward was in the Vince locker room. It is hilarious now that he did mention Eric Bieniemy on like one of the more recent podcasts recently.
And hey, oh, by the way, speaking of apologies, and Nate, I want to hear who Travis Kelce was talking to in the locker room. I have really kind of miffed the idea of Bieniemy being the straw that stirs the drink. There's a lot of other factors to point to, including the way Andy Reid's offense is entirely built. But I will say, if you watch the Chicago Bears run game, it's got a lot more going on. Now, let me add something though. It's got a lot more going on than the Kansas City Chiefs offense did when Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator.
Yes,
too. So
and you know what else had a lot going on? The Detroit Lions run game a minute ago.
Yep. So there's more going. There's more going on there, people, in terms of just that, because who the head coaches matters. Nate, who was Travis Kelce talking to?
But overall,
Ben Johnson.
The mentality, the physicality, the want to from the Bears running game. Anyway, I know some people have said Robert Tonyan, no. Mark Donovan, no. Taylor Swift, God, I wish. Chris Oladukin, no. I think your Jay Winchester guess, Josh, is impeccable.
Thank you.
That he really, I mean, him and James Winchester have their own like bromance that's not obviously on the same level as him and Patrick, but like it's a legitimate relationship. Are we ready? He spent Travis Kelce, future Hall of Famer, year 13, no contract for next season, possibly down to his last 2 games of his career, spent considerable time, more than anybody else I saw in that locker room, with Clark Hunt.
Oh.
The guy who owns the stadium in Kansas?
I mean, there was some hugs, there were some smiles, there was a nice pat on the arm from Clark Hunt, who knows you doing everything for us, baby. I can't thank you enough. And if you want to come on back home,
did Clark have like an ice pack? Was he holding an ice pack to Kelsey's neck or something, like trying to get some inflammation down or something? I'd appreciate that. I think that'd be good.
Stapling a star bond to him, or
hey, if you need a guest on the podcast in the off season as one of our commentators,
that's the funniest thing that could be talking about is Clark trying to book himself on New Heights.
Come on, man, just
I would listen to that because
I would too.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was an emotional moment. It was clearly like,
that's nice.
I think Clark Hunt was saying thank you. And Travis Kelce, I think, again, from what I could infer, and again, I didn't try to like wedge myself between the two men, but I did take a moment to like, dang, they are really talking. Like, it's not just a like, hey, great game, or hey, nice job, da-da-da-da, like most owners do. No, this is like, I'm in this room to talk to you. And Travis said, okay, let's chat. And they chatted. And whatever happens next, I think largely might have a little bit to do with what those two men talked about in Nashville.
I got nothing.
Okay, great.
Really
Let's take a break then.
Heather Luce, broker owner, KC Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately, and she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually like genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need, how much equity do you have, and she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense, and I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it, a building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? Like, I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day. The tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Best disclaimer in the business right there. It really warms my heart every time. Let's go ahead and get ourselves to Topeka, Kansas right now. Nate, you're obviously down there for the big news. Everybody knows at this point the Chiefs will leave Arrowhead Stadium after they build a new domed stadium in Wyandotte County. I believe those are the main details that are locked in right now. What else stood out to you about the operation there in Topeka? How we've gotten to where we're at now? Maple's unhappy about it, and I think Maple lives in Kansas, so I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like the Star bonds. It's a lot of money publicly, but that's for Maple to figure out. She can get a job. What did you learn there in that entire deal in Topeka, and what do Chiefs fans need to know about the news?
I'll be quick because I don't want to belabor this. I would actually recommend, because I heard this on my drive back to Topeka last night. I would recommend people listen to Tucker and BJ's conversation, the initial reaction to them upon hearing this yesterday. Now, I had known for months that this was likely to happen. I think I've told you guys on the podcast before that Kansas was a legit player. Laura Kelly ain't no hoe. Okay, that is. I
don't think you can say that about a governor, man.
You're just supposed to let it go. We're just gonna blaze through it, man.
Nate, I let a lot of your stuff go.
It felt good. It felt good coming out of my hand. Okay. So, now obviously Kansas has given up a lot. I don't need to tell you that much. By estimation, it's probably like $2.4 billion over a number of years. We've seen the Star Bonds map, which now includes, I think, where I live. So that's cool. From Wyandotte County all the way down to God knows who. So, listen to me now and thank me later. I knew that this was a viable possibility for the Chiefs when I was in. Remember when we were in the Breakers, Josh? Remember I took you to the Breakers? We looked at those ceilings.
I remember looking at those ceilings. I do.
Those chandeliers, my God. And it was in those meetings, both publicly and privately behind closed doors, that if we move to Kansas, what are the incentives for us, and what are the incentives for you? There ain't. I almost want to strike the word possibility, maybe, could. They're probably getting the Super Bowl, guys. And I don't want to say probably. You do not make this decision that I understand everybody's emotions around it if you don't get the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs do not host a Super Bowl in that dome stadium, it is an utter failure, because that has to be one of the incentives as to why you would leave historic Arrowhead Stadium. I, unlike some of my peers, do believe Arrowhead is iconic. It is iconic. It's one of the best places to ever watch a football game in this country. Seth, I know you could talk about it forever. I know BJ made the point last night with Tucker that every time he goes to Arrowhead, he thinks of his father. And I was in my car nodding my head, because it's the same. It's that generational experience of fathers taking sons to Arrowhead, and that, obviously the cycle continues, and it's unfortunate that is not going to happen after 5 years. Will it be retractable? Probably not. There's a slight possibility that it could be a retractable roof, T. Smith, but I don't as of right now, I didn't hear anything yesterday in Topeka that made me believe that that's possible or that that's more likely to happen. Yeah, that it's likely to happen. They're going to have to hire an architect. Maybe the architecture, because of the acoustics, because of the loudness that the Chiefs are hoping to replicate from Arrowhead Stadium, which again, I have no expertise in how you are able to do that with potentially less fans in the stadium. You know, there were reports and, you know, this isn't like an absolute, like, I want to remind this too, like Mark Donovan said 65,000 seats. That is not like a fact. Like that is just a number he threw out there. Now I know Arrowhead can host up to like 78,000 in big events. I know Seth's like furious. I'm sorry.
See, he's also furious at himself. There's levels to it. It's okay. You keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, I know he said 65,000. There's a range of like, you know, hey, I've seen the reports that like, hey, you need 70,000 to get a Super Bowl. The Chiefs will, the NFL will waive that for Clark Hunt in a heartbeat, kids. In a heartbeat. All right. And go ahead, Seth.
No, I was more mad. I was going to make a joke about 65 seats and I was muted and I was just very, very bothered. So I have a take.
Go ahead.
Okay? And for one, I've got a lot of great memories at Arrowhead. I love Arrowhead. It's one of my favorite places in the world. For one, I'm an out-of-stater, so I don't, you know, there's certain things I'm just not going to understand, right? I'm not a season ticket holder. There are certain things I'm not going to understand, and I acknowledge that. So what I'm about to say is not me telling anyone how they should feel about anything. One of the worst things about social media is that it's normalized telling people how they should feel about stuff. Something I tell my kids all the time lately, now that I've kind of become semi-emotionally healthy, is that feelings aren't necessarily right or wrong. They just are. They're your feelings. Now, what you do with them can be right or wrong, but they're just feelings. So I'm not telling anyone how they should feel. I moved around a lot as a kid. I'm a pastor's kid, and that's one of the reasons that I became a Chiefs fan is because we lived in the Kansas City area for several years during Joe Montana. We've talked about that before. I moved all over North Dakota, multiple places, never really like had a lot of time to like settle down until we had like 6th or 7th grade. And then we were in one town for a while, and I've moved around a few times since then. I'm of the belief, and I understand there's a lot of things to think about, ticket prices and what are they going to do about tailgating? Like, what are they going to, like, these are legitimate things that people should wonder about.
Yeah, for sure. Which, by the way,
I would,
they didn't have any details whatsoever. Well,
yeah.
PSLs, what are those? And it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Can you give us something of
and
something? I
would just say, in terms of like people are worried about ticket prices and stuff, they were going to do a massive renovation of Arrowhead either way, no more like $275 million. There was going to be like a $1.52 billion rebuild, and ticket prices were going to be bananas either way. So I kind of either way that. Here's what I would say.
Yes.
My parents, then they moved away after I'd graduated law school and moved to the community where they were when they introduced me to my wife. And I thought I was finally going to be by my parents, you know, like as a grown up after I'd kind of lost my lifelong rebellion against them. And then they moved away and they had to. My dad took a job at a great church. I'm so glad that anyway. But what I found out is anywhere I've gone to visit my parents or any door that I walk into is home. Home, for me, is where Jazz and my kids are. Home for me is where my parents are. And so I get it. And I'm not trying to shill for this whole, like, you know, they really thought they had a bar there. Like, this is about money. I'm willing to say it because there's just a lot that goes into that. Yes, they got an unbelievable deal offered to them by Kansas, and it's business. So I'm not doing the whole, like, I'm not shilling like this is somehow for the fans. It's not. I would say, though, people that feel like the soul of Arrowhead Stadium is being taken, that kind of stuff, I would just say that I don't think that's true. And maybe my experience is colored just a little bit going to the new Vikings stadium and watching Vikings fans.
People have, hey, Seth, people have no idea how good that stadium is.
Stadium is so pretty.
If the Chiefs just copied and pasted, people would be so happy.
I sign me up. Although a little bigger concourses would be great. But I watched.
That stadium is nuts.
It's so pretty. It's so pretty. They do need, again, bigger concourses, more amenities. I'd love to see, but downtown Minneapolis is tough. They've got more room to build out. So all these things about tailgating, especially, right? Because that should be the caveat for everything. You screw up tailgating, you start charging for it. That's ridiculous. That would take some away the soul. But here's what I'm going to say is that I watched people in Minneapolis with their skull chant at the beginning of the game. And that's a cool tradition. And Vikings fans are great fans. It was the most polite game ever. Everyone was, oh, sorry. It was so funny. Everyone from Kansas City and Minneapolis was so polite that crowds wouldn't move. But anyway, you can have an incredible atmosphere in a stadium. I watched it happen. And you can't tell me that Vikings fans are better than Chiefs fans. They're not. So I hear you. I'm willing to see the process play out and see if they screw up tailgating. I mean, yeah, I'll be right there at the front line because that to me is part of it's the people that really make it happen. So but again, I'm an out-of-towner. I'm not telling anyone else how to feel. For me, we talk about this all the time when we talk about players negotiating their contracts and teams deciding to let certain guys go. At the end of the day, this is a business wrapped up in a lot of feelings. And Kansas made them an offer that no one's turning that down. Now, did the Chiefs leverage Missouri to do that? Yeah, they did. And sometimes, man, I'm going to regret this. Sometimes doing what I do, I really like the fact that doing it what I do, I'm able to keep things at a distance because I get to keep up a beautiful illusion sometimes. And sometimes it's just a business and you're going to have business decisions being made. In the meantime, I can be optimistic that they'll build. Again, man, some of these new stadiums, they really are beautiful and they really are very, very cool. And it's maybe we can be hopeful that they'll be able to create a really awesome, cool, modern experience and still keep the magic because the magic is the people. So we'll see.
You're right.
We'll see.
What? Maple's going crazy. Clark Hunt has already toured Titan Stadium. He's already toured SoFi. He's already toured Allegiant. He's already toured. He spent time on Thanksgiving going around AT&T Stadium. This is.
We definitely do have a number of things. Nate's going to go ahead. I'm thinking. I see Josh moving here. I think poor Nate is going to get muted for a bit because
I didn't do it. Nate muted himself. I'm hanging.
Yep. We've got
let him listen to the dogs.
A non-team player at Nate's house right now. So the fact that they are, and people say, well, they aren't Arrowhead. Neither was Arrowhead until it was Arrowhead. You can make memories anywhere. You really can. And I get it, man. Now everyone works differently. This is me. You can make really great, really cool memories. I love traveling to Anna Maria Island on the south side of Tampa Bay. I love it. And when Jazz suggested that we take a trip for someone's senior year, someone's senior trip to Italy instead, which this makes me sound way more bougie than I am, but whatever. Please, someone buy a kidney from me. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. This is the one place. This is my place. This is the place that I love. And then I was like, you know what rules? Venice. Just be open to it. Give it a shot. Just give it a shot. Or don't and be super angry and let it totally destroy your fan experience. You could do that.
The one thing that Clark can say about fan experience is he has toured all these new stadiums. So he knows his preferences. He's talked to enough fans. He's talked to enough engineers and the architects to know what is possible in a dome stadium. And again, to make simple math, Missouri was willing to give, I believe, $1.5 billion. Kansas just gave them $2.4 billion altogether. I mean, that's the easiest explanation I can give.
Yeah,
with my dog involved. Perfect.
To put a pin on it, Nate and I have a mutual friend who has been to some of these new stadiums. Some of them, people call some of these stadiums cookie cutter stadiums. I got to say, the people I've talked to that have been to these stadiums have never been like, oh, that wasn't impressive at all. I mean, so we had a mutual friend that saw the Raiders stadium and was like, wow, that's a $2 billion stadium. Like, how could you possibly up that? And then they went to the Chargers and Rams stadium, which is, I believe, a $4 billion stadium. And it was like, a $5 billion stadium? No.
$5 billion. I told Hayden about this. It's $5 billion.
Yeah. And so, look, if $2.4 billion towards the stadium means they're going to build like a $3.5-4 billion stadium, it'll at least be cool. Let's check out a shiny new toy, because reality doesn't care whether we agree with it or not. It's just going to happen. And so that's kind of where I land. But again, I'm not trying to tell anyone else how to feel. I'm just saying why I'm not maybe as tore up. But again, from Minnesota and someone who's moved a million times. So I'm not someone who attaches the value to a place. And there's nothing wrong with attaching value to the place. So I understand people are hurting.
The things I think are most interesting about this are things no one wants to hear about right now, but I do think it's interesting that a couple of the arguments there are, yeah, it's a business and it's just going to happen, because that's not really how sports fandom gets sold. Like, that's
right.
Nobody's wearing a Google jersey every Friday, you know? So, I mean, there is like the pride that comes with that, I do think, you know, matters. And again, this is still, of course, extremely different than the Rams going from St. Louis to Los Angeles. It's like a 20-minute-ish move, which is for why I personally don't, in terms of the emotions of it, I've been on both sides of the state line a lot, so I'm not really super torqued up about it in the geographical sense. I think a lot of the economics of it are fascinating, but it's week 17 and no one wants to talk to me about economics at this point. So why don't one of you each give me something you want to see from Chiefs Broncos on Christmas, and then we'll get out of here. And by the way, everybody, we will have we're going to end up recording our next show a little bit earlier, but I think Saturday afternoon. Tucker, give me a thumbs up if that's right. Saturday afternoon we'll have our episode to follow Chiefs Broncos. So Seth, give me something you'd like to see against the Broncos. Doesn't have to be a long thing, just something you're hoping to see.
All the names that you mentioned off the top here, you know, Bassa, Smith, Royals, play the young guys, and who cares if you get gobsmacked? See what they can do, because you've got a talent issue.
Nate, anything different than that?
The Chiefs haven't scored a touchdown since the opening drive against the Chargers. Will they score a touchdown on Christmas night?
Oh. Man, that's a good question. I'd like to see Esapole have a better game than he had against the Titans. I'll make that my one specific thing. It certainly looked like that safety was his fault, and I'm not mad about it, because he's played 9 football games in his life. That's an exaggeration, but honestly, like, not by as much as you'd think. He didn't play high school football. So that's a perfect example for me of, okay, it cost you 2 points and killed a drive in a game that didn't matter. All right, man, better to find out if Pole can be a swing tackle for you next year. So just to add another name to the pile, that will be mine. That does it for us here. Nate, I imagine this could be one of your quickest exits ever. You might get the final word to Maple at this point. I don't know. Get us out of here.
I think there's a real sense that with this stadium news, people have doubted the Chiefs again will get a Super Bowl. I'm almost close to guaranteeing you guys that they will get a Super Bowl. That this is why you do this, and this is what Clark Hunt wants attached to his legacy. Obviously, as the son of the father who coined the freaking game, the Super Bowl. So, from a legacy standpoint, the NFL knows if this stadium goes well, Kansas City will get a Super Bowl. This ain't no might, could, should, we'll see, whatever. Like, if they build it correctly and it goes well, they will get a Super Bowl. And so one of the things I tried to wrap my own mind around is a decade from now, the Chiefs and theoretically Kansas City in essence could host a Super Bowl. And I never thought that was going to be possible in my lifetime. And that's one of the only decisions when you take money out as to why you would want to go to Kansas. It's the only reason you would want to do this, other than to make money, get billions from another state, and to have the Super Bowl, the sport's biggest event in your city. That's why they did this, guys. Even though Clark Hunt loves Arrowhead, I can assure you just as much as you do. So this is the trade-off that they're willing to take. This is the decision they've come to make. And something crazy, I think, would have to happen for them not to get the Super Bowl. Whenever that is going to happen, So it's an unfortunate reality, but that's the truth. And look, I genuinely believe, until told otherwise, and again, I don't know this 100%. But yeah, some of you guys in the comments have asked what Travis Kelce and Clark Hunt were talking about, and I'm sure it had to be about the future. Someone told me that it was likely about the future, and then another person said, "Oh yeah, they were probably talking about what'll happen after these next 2 games."
Hopefully Maple will tell us when she knows.
Maybe he's moving to